Okay, Boker Tov, Hayom Yom, Hayom Yom. 26 Adar Sheini. Ready? Here we go. All that is sacred to the nation of the God of Abraham, and which is fundamental to the house of Israel, in establishing and rearing an upright generation, kashrus of food, the sublime, pure holiness of Shabbos, all of that was entrusted by the awesome and revered God for preservation and development to the women of Israel. The woman who fulfills her obligation and destiny in the life of the family, in conducting the home and in seeing that the education be according to Torah, this woman is the subject of the verse. It's a verse in Mishle and Proverbs that says in Hebrew, Chochmas Nashim Bansa Beisa. The wisdom of women constructed her home. And of course, with all the drushim on this, the ultimate home, of course, is the bias for Hashem himself, as is learned in all the Memorim and Sichos of Binyan Beis HaMikdash, Binyan HaBayis, building the home. The small home that we build, each and every one of us, is a Mikdash Ma'at, a small Beis HaMikdash, and all of that home building, homemaking, makes a home for Hashem in the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi. All right. Refuah Shleimus. Everybody's well. Baruch Hashem.
No, I couldn't unmute.
Oh, you couldn't unmute.
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Elka Rachel Bas Aliza. Bar Benjamin Ben Rachel Blema. Yehudis Golda Bas Aliza Hana. Hava Daniela Bas Naomi Hana.
Refuah Shlema, B'Koreh. Anybody else?
Asa Menachem Yehuda Nisan Ben Rezel Tzivya and Dina Koka Bat Yehudit.
Refuah Shlema. Okay, lessons in Tanya. Continuing our theme. What's our theme? Oh, we'll get to it. First, let's the place. The place is in Lessons in Tanya is page 528. And in Likutei Amorim, over here, it is where am I here? Yeah. Page Nun Aleph, a little lower than the middle. From the bottom, we're counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the Alter Rebbe has put on the pages here, and we should now remind ourselves to mind a structure here of mitzvahs maisius, the mitzvahs that you do with doing, just doing, and the kavanah of the mitzvahs. So there's the doing of the mitzvah, and there's the kavanah. We've said many times, just to make sure everyone gets it, that mitzvahs do not require kavanah to be yotzi the mitzvah. It just requires whatever the action is. It could be an action of thought, like having mitzvahs of the heart, for instance, the chayvis halavavis, feeling and cultivating Avis Yisrael or Avis Hashem. These are also, that's the doing of that particular mitzvah. But most of the mitzvahs are external to that, either speech or actual deed. And that's the doing, which we do the mitzvah. And then there's a kavanah of the mitzvah. And he structured it for us in 4 levels, corresponding to the 4 worlds and corresponding to the 4 letters of the Shem Havaya. Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg taught me many years ago that whenever you see any number in the Torah, there's a correspondence with every other appearance of the number. So if you have 4 worlds, they have to correspond to some other 4, And in the case that the Alter Rebbe brought is the 4 letters of the Shem Havaya. Or we're going to now, he talked to us, and we'll just quickly review the 4 levels of the mitzvah. Number 1, there's the deed of the mitzvah. Then there's the speech and thought of the mitzvah. That's number 2. Then in terms of kavanas, there's the avativis, the natural love, or fear or awe. And then there's the higher, yira eloah, the higher level of awe, or avaraba, the higher level of fear. So we have those 4 levels: the deed, the speech, the natural love, and the sublime love. And they correspond to the 4 levels of physical reality in this world, the lowest being the inanimate, then the vegetative, the plant, and then the animals, and then the medaber, the speaking. So today, just with that in mind, I mean, you don't need to hold the whole thing in mind, but just that there are two general structures between deed and kavana. He's going to talk to us today about kavana. Okay, now we'll start. Kimisha daita yofa, one who has a good mind, literally a pretty, beautiful mind, deep mind. Ladasas Hashem, to know Hashem. Will his bainim begedulas yisborach, begedulasa yisborach, and to contemplate, lashon bina, to use his intellect, understanding faculty, and applies that to understanding, to whatever limit one can understand the greatness of Hashem. And as a result of that, gives birth from one's understanding, from one's contemplation. Remember, his baininess, which we generally translate meditation or contemplation, the root of that is bina, is baininess, bina. So when one utilizes that faculty, and with that faculty gives birth mibinasai, from one's understanding, to yira ilah, to the awesome high experience of awesomeness of Hashem, b'moichai, in one's brain, ve'avas Hashem b'chol ha'yimini, and also gives birth to love of Hashem in the right side of the heart, shebaliboy, li'es nafshet tzomel Hashem, and the result of that being that one has a thirst for God, l'davka boy, and a desire to cling to Him, al yedei kiyum haTorah v'hamitzvos, through fulfilling the Torah and mitzvahs. So the Torah and mitzvahs are not just deeds that we're doing to fulfill a requirement in the Sefer HaMitzvahs or in the Shulchan Aruch, but we're now fulfilling those mitzvahs with layered onto the deed of the mitzvah, the isbaininess of the mitzvah, the heart of the mitzvah, and that brings us to a thirst to cling to Hashem when we do those mitzvahs. Shehein hamshachas ve'oras orein saborachu, and those meditations and those arousals of love, awe, fear, etc., all the other midos, they cause to come down a ha'ora, a ray of the Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu, of the Infinite One, blessed be He, al nafshe, onto one's soul, the dove kibeh, in order to cling to the soul. The Ora of Hashem, the Or Ein Sof, comes and clings down to the soul, and we cling to Him. And with this kavana, if one has this kavana, these kavanas as we're describing, when one has these kavanas, and he takes that or she takes that, and fulfills the mitzvahs, which we could say said easily, in a heartsadika manner, in a heartful manner, and a mindful manner, mindful and heartful, and we fulfill mitzvahs that way. And v'chein, and likewise, b'kavana zu mispalo u'mevorach. So he brings other things now to the table, not just mitzvahs maisius, but praying and making blessings. So when a person does this, postures oneself like this, hadekavana zu, this intentionality, al derek mashal, is like, by way of a metaphor, is kamei nishmas hamidaber, is like the soul of the speaking person. This is the highest level, right? The fourth in the hierarchy. Daimim Sameach HaMedaber. So this is being the Medaber, the highest level of of humanness that can be applied to one's relationship with Hashem, the level of medaber. Shehu bal seichel. Because what is a medaber? The speaking person, the human being, is defined by being a bal seichel, a master of mind, a master of consciousness, a master of directing oneself to the things that one is doing. I mean, this applies in the mundane plane as well. The big difference between just getting something done because you're supposed to, or you have to, or you need a paycheck to get it done, versus doing it with heartfulness, and with inspiration, and maybe with innovation. So that's the highest level. Hamedaber, shehu bal seichel, ubechira. So a human being is a bal seichel, and also a bal bechira, has free choice. Ubedas yidaber, and speaks with das. I mean, he's saying, if to be human, some of us can speak, not us, one couldn't speak without das, right? Absent-mindedly, just knee-jerkingly in response to something. But that's not utilizing the powers that we have as human beings, which is the power of seichel, to speak in a directed way, intentionality, with intentionality. And one who's literally short-minded, meaning not so, enlightened, or not so capable, that's the better word. There are degrees of capability. Everyone is at different levels of mindfulness, but really of mindedness. In other words, we all have different brains, we all have different capabilities. So one who's not so at the top of the heap, so to speak, like the tzaddik at the top of the heap of the medaber, but one whose das is more limited, to have awareness, knowledge, and contemplation and understanding in the greatness of the infinite Baruch Hu. One who's, not at the highest level of medaber, but still has that faculty, as it's a human faculty of das and seichel, but is at a lower level. And is not at the level where he or she can bring forth from his understanding that it should be mamish, revealed in one's heart. That's the love, and also the awe or the fear. It's not so strong. But what does this person do? At least the person zoicher remembers. He remembers. And arouses the love ativis. So now we distinguish here, we've talked about before, the difference between ava sichlis, love that's based on contemplation and meditation, and love which is based on the mere natural fact that we have a nefesh elokis, and we are able to get in touch with that nefesh elokis, the natural. This is almost like, the animal. It's not the animal soul, but the godly animus that's within us, which is the nefesh elokis, brings forth an avativis, a natural love, as opposed to a cultivated, intellectual, contemplative love. So one remembers that avativis, that natural love, hamisuteres beliboy, which is concealed in every person's heart. And one brings forth that natural love from its concealed state in the heart, el giloy b'moya, to a revealed state in the mind, al kol panim, at least in the mind, so that one's will, which is in the brain, and the inner dimensions of one's heart are in accord with and agree with, and are willing or run to, with a complete runningness or complete will, in a true way, to give over one's soul b'poil mamish, in actuality, al yichud Hashem, to the unity of Hashem, kedei ladavke boy, in order to cling to Him, benafshehu elokis, with one's godly soul, ulavosheha, and the godly soul's garments, which are thought, speech, and action of the nefesh elokis, and to include them, the garments, that one's thought, speech, and deed should be all given over to and included in the unity, the singularity and the unity of Hashem. Shehu Ratzon Elyon. What does it mean to include one's thought, speech, and action in the unity of Hashem. It means to apply one's thought, speech, and action to what God wants, to the supernal will. Hamalubish b'talmud Torah, which is enclosed in the learning of Torah, ubekiyam ha-mitzvahs, and the fulfilling of mitzvahs, as we said above. So that's talking about one's love and attraction, based not on contemplation and meditation, but based on arousing the natural love, which is in the Nefesh Elokis, and likewise the yira, the fear of Hashem or the awe of Hashem, is kalula ba, is included in the ava, because all the midos include each other. The kabel, now what's the example of yiras Hashem in his graves? The kabel malchusah, to take upon oneself, to be given over, to be hachna, in a state of hachna, openness, humility, and acceptance of God's malchus. Shalei limrad boichas v'sholem, at least to the point where you're not rebelling, right? You have enough yira that you're not rebelling, the minimal. So, and if with this kavanah, this is the kavanah we're talking about now, not the kavanah that's aroused from meditation, contemplation, from mindfulness, but the kavanah that's come from reaching in and just connecting with it's a big deal, connecting with the natural love and fear, which are the two top midos. It implies all the other midos underneath as well. But just arousing that natural love and fear, those head midos, ubekavana zu husumera, and with this natural, with this natural connection, with this kavana, husumera, he turns from evil, va'asei toiv, and does good, v'loimid, and he learns, umispalel, and he or she prays, and umevarach, and makes bruchas, the pirish hamilos levadoi. I'm smiling at these words. Simply knowing the pirush of the midos. That's important. I can still, after all these years, there are many words in the davening that I'm still looking up here and there, or I know the pshat, but I'm looking up different meanings in terms of Hasidus, right? So at least when one davens or learns, one at least has to know the pirush hamilos, the meaning of the words. Even if it's not in a manner of the revealed fear and love in your heart, or brain. Nevertheless, you doing this because, why are you doing this in the first place? This is the minimalist understanding of kavanah. That you're doing this in the minimalist understanding is you're drawn to do Torah and mitzvahs because there's something in you which draws you to Torah and mitzvahs, as opposed to a life that's, God forbid, not without Torah and mitzvahs. So that's the minimal kavanah, that your natural inclination is exposed and you're doing what you're supposed to do. And when it comes to learning and praying, making sure that and making bruchas, that you know what you're saying. So this minimalist kavanah, this kavanah zu, this kavanah, al derek mashal, is like, now in our stratification of daimim sameach chai medaber. So it's like a chai. It's natural, like an animal. She'enu bal seichel be'obechira, which an animal is not a bal seichel be'obechira, is not someone who is a master of mind and choice. So this is not the medarber level, the highest level. It's the animal level, but the animal is connected with one. Like just think of an animal. An animal is constantly connected with his desires. So when we just, something we don't know why draws us to this lifestyle, it's lifestyle cheapens it, this life path, this path in life, is because there's a godly animal within us, whose nature is to want to be drawn to Torah and mitzvahs. So that's the minimalist kavanah. That's the animal, he's calling it, aligning it with the chai and the medaber, the animal part of the intentionality, the kavanah in Torah and mitzvahs. And he uses those natural midos, all those midos, and he goes, Yerasa, he goes now back to the top of the heap, love and fear, right? Shehein Yerasoi, which we take fear, let's say, the lowest level of translating fear is really, of yira, is really fear. And he says, the fear of doing something which would damage you. right? I'm not going to do that because I know it's harmful to me. That's the lowest level of yira. The highest level, of course, is complete awesomeness, where you, as an ego, or whatever you want to call it, disappear and dissolve into, there's no more you, right? There's just your relationship with Hashem. And that's the level which we usually translate as awesomeness. I'm blown away, so to speak, by it. But the lower level is that one has yirase midevorim hamazikim oisai, fear of things which damage him. That's yira. Vavosai, and love, and what's the lowest level of love? Desire toward devorim hanavim eslei, the things that you desire and that you love. And hein rak teviyim eslei, and these are just natural midos. They're not midos. This is the lower level of kavana. They're natural kavan, natural intentions. Not those intentions which have been cultivated by meditation and contemplation from understanding and knowledge. So similarly, just as in human life, we have a fear of something, we stay away from it. We have a love for something, an attraction for it, we go to it. So similarly, when it comes to the midos that we have in terms of a relationship with God, we have fear, natural fear and love, natural fear and love. Amisuteres belev kol Yisrael, which is hidden in the heart of each and every Jewish person. Because why is it hidden in the heart? Because it's an inheritance to us, from our fathers and our mothers, and it's like a teva. It's a godly nature that we have. It's tuba'u, it's sunken into us by God, who invested it in the souls of Avram and Sarah, etc., and that became our spiritual inheritance, a Yerusha, our spiritual inheritance. That's today's Tanya. I would like to start Shabboses, as we usually do, but I want to pause here to see what's on your minds or any questions you have.
I think this is not really a question. It's just my thought is that, like, this is so much of our avodas Hashem. It's very hard to elicit a tefillah that is coming from the depths of one's neshama. It comes, but it doesn't come. I mean, for me, I didn't say it for others. For me, it doesn't come on a daily basis. On a daily basis, if I'm thinking what I'm saying and not thinking something else. Like, I remember Rabbi Paltiel saying somehow even between Shema and Echad, there is a thought of something else that comes in.
There's a whole day or a whole week or a month between the two words as your mind wanders off.
So It's like, here I am thinking, wow, I was focusing on the words. Like, I think, oh, that's a lot. But it's not a lot, according to Tanya.
Yeah, but it's something. In other words, don't negate it, and don't think bad, because it is something, and it counts. That's the spirit of this. It's not that. Don't think that that's just peanuts, and I'm really not very competent. That's not his intention. His intention is to make you help you understand that even that is what God wants, but there can be more richness in it than that. So use it as a positive springboard, that there are higher levels, but don't denigrate the lower level. He's not denigrating it at all. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, Lamentes, right? Unless anyone else wants to come in here, we have a few minutes. We'll see how far we get. And what's the zeh? Because of this, the natural love. No, exactly, addressing your point. And because of just this natural love, just because you're a Jew, and your Jewness is Jewishness, I guess, is drawing you toward it. Ibnei zeh, gamtim nekroim hamalachim b'shem chayes u'behemis. we are still called, he's going to contrast, we're called Amedaber. You are a Medaber. You are at the highest level of creation, Medaber, of the 4 levels, right? Just as a result of this Avativis. And you're distinct from the animals. Now, in these, that's at the human, the earthly level of distinction between animals and humans. But at a spiritual level, there are also everything which is in the spiritual is manifest in the physical and vice versa. Everything in the physical has a counterpart source in the spiritual. So similarly, in the spiritual realms, the malachim, the angels, are called animals. They're not called humans, medaber. They're animals. Shehem chayas ubehemus. These are the animals, which are, we have 2 kinds of animals. We have wild animals, which are lions, etc. They're the chayas, and the behemus, which are the domesticated animals. Kedikusiv, as is written, Upnei Arya el Hayamin, right? When Yechezkel had a vision of a chariot, he saw a lion on the right, he saw a cow on the left, he saw a bird in the middle. These are the spiritual sources of the animals and birds down here below. And always enough, he didn't see a fish. It wasn't there. There were 3 animals, and the man, the Medaber, was on top. So in his vision, he has Pnei Shor Mehasmoil, the ox on the left side. Now, what are these animals? Now, remember, these animals are in the service of the man being the Nefesh Elokis. And what are they metaphorically? They're called animals because she'enem bali bechira. They don't have any free choice. V'yirasim v'avosam hi b'tivis. And all of their fear or awe and love of Hashem is natural. So this is the level that we spoke about earlier, the lower level of service Hashem, where you serve Hashem with an ava or a yirativis. Meshikasa B'raya Mahemna is expressed in the Zohar, Parshas Pinchas. And therefore, Milas HaTzadikim Gedoyle Mahem. So if they're the animals, and we are animals, right? David HaMelech says, Behemoth or Yisi, I was an animal in front of you. He didn't mean that he was creeping on the ground like a lizard or eating grass and he's not depriving. He's not giving a negative expression. He's saying that there is a level within me, i.e. a lower level, but it's a godly level that's been given me. It's my natural level. And my natural level is the nature of the Nefesh Elokis. But that's just the animal within me. That's the holy animal that I am, right? And then I can rise from there, from being a holy animal to a holy medaber, which is a level of tzaddikim, as he's about to say. So, Milas HaTzadikim, Gedoyle Mehem. So the tzaddikim are higher than the animal, of course. That's the medaber. The level of medaber is higher than the level of behemoth. Kimadur HaNeshomas HaTzadikim, because the home, the dwelling place of the souls of tzaddikim is be'olam habriya, is of the 4 worlds. They exist in one of the 2 higher worlds, which is Bria, tzaddikim. And keep this in mind. This tzaddik is analogous to our level of medaber, the highest level, which means the level of service that's done with a conscious level of his mindfulness, meditation, cultivated mindfulness, right? The tzaddik is always 100% mindful and totally given over to Hashem. So that's the level of the level of kavanah that comes from active contemplation and meditation. And that's a place, if you want to know where its source is, that tzaddik, amach kulam tzaddikim, where we can all be tzaddikim, all live in that kind of a space, is in the world of Bria, right? Second level down. Umada hamalachim, and malachim, they live in the lower space, which is the world of Yetzirah. And there's a little footnote here. Bahainu, you look at the little notes on the side. I don't know how it is in letters in Tanya, in lessons in Tanya, but I'm sure it's there. When he just clarifies, if you want to know a little diuk, a little fine point in what we're saying, that when we're speaking about Malachim being in the lower world, Yetzirah, he says these are plain Malachim, stam Malachim. Aval, however, there are other kinds of Malachim. Malachim Elyonim, higher levels of angels, higher levels of animals, but Olam Habriya, who do live in the world of Bria, where they are burgeoning on the upper level of the boundary between an animal and a human, and they have some kind of intellect, and they utilize that intellect. And if you want to know more about this, it's written in Raya Mahemna, Sheyeshnei Mine Chayas HaKodesh. There are two families of holy animals. Tevim, natural holy animals, Vesichlim, and intellectual holy animals. So they are closer to the line between the Chaya and the Medaber. Okay. Now, what's the difference between the tzaddik, the level of the tzaddik, which is an Olam HaBriya, which we said corresponds to the level of Dechila V'Rechima Sikli, that's Aramaic for intellectual love and fear. And I don't mean intellectual like an intellectual, mindful, that uses one's seichel and one's contemplative capabilities, the one's bina, to have a relationship, a heartfelt relationship with Hashem. So the difference between them is Ki ba'olam ha'yitzira, in the lower world, right? Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, me'irish sham midoisav shel ein sof baruch hu. That's where the attributes, the emotions, if you will, of God existed. In other words, a human being was more subject to his emotion, how he feels in a kind of knee-jerk way. You know, someone insults me, I get angry, right? There's no seichel in between mitigating or putting perspective on what's happening. It's more of a knee-jerk reaction. We have that kind of level as well. That's the instinctive, therefore, quote, instinctive equal animal level within us. So that's the level, the lower level, where the midos of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu is the focus is on midos rather than intellect, on midos levadon, shehen avosei v'pachdoi, which is love and fear, or love and awe, the two top levels of midas, etc. Pachta and yira, trembling or dread and fear or awe. As is written in that section of the Zohar, and in Eitz Chaim from the Arizal, where the Zohar says the shit sviri mekanin b'yitzira, the six spheros, meaning the six chesed, gevurah, teferes, netzach, hod, yesod, those six levels of midos, their nesting place, their home base is in Yitzira. Lochein, therefore, not in Bria, in the lower world. Lochein zeisi avodas hamalachim. That's why the service of angels is tamid yomim v'layla. It's constant, day and night. Layishkatu, it never stops. And they always are la'amid b'yira upachat, standing in an emotional arousal, whether it's love or fear. In other words, coming close to Hashem or doing his mission, because if you don't do his mission, there could be negative consequences. And therefore they go on a mission and they don't think twice about the mission. They're soldiers, foot soldiers. Behind Kol Machan Yisrael Gavriel. So in terms of these midos, the whole camp of Gavriel, right? We have Mechoel on the right, Gavriel on the left. Gavriel, if you look at the word, is Gever, which in this case means Gevura. Also, it's word in modern Hebrew, Gever is a man, right? This prevailing kind of all-encompassing, Mesiris Nefesh kind of energy. And you see the word Aleph Lamed, which is God. Their Mida, Gavriel, is on the left, right? Tough, do what I'm commanded, as I said, foot soldier. Shemeh HaSmoil, that's which comes from the left side. Bavodas Machnu Michoel, Michoel is Mikakel, who is like God himself. That's Michael. Hu'ava, and that's love. That's what's going on, if you want to know, in the world of Yetzirah. Ava ba'olam habriya, at the higher level, Yirish Sham Hachmasei Ubanasei. God's midos are not the only thing going on. On the contrary, the higher level of seichel, Chachma Bina Das, which is the influencer and the mucker and the source for the highest of the midos, that's what's prevailing up there, and that's the head. That's the Adam. He's the head, the one who's driving the kiseh, the throne. So in Olam B'riyah, Ma'orish Sham Chachmasi B'nasi V'daita Shalein Saborchu. There, the mind, so to speak, of God is acting, his wisdom, understanding, and knowledge of the Infinite One. Shehen Makar Midos, which is the source of Midos. The aim, the Shorashlam, is the mother and the root of them. The Isa B'Tekunim, as is also brought in the Zohar, and the Zohar says, the Ema Allah, the supernal mother, that's Bina, Mekanano B'Tlat Sfirim. Her nesting place is in the 3 Sephiros, Chachma Bina Das, B'Kosaya of the chariot, Shehu Olam HaBriya, which is the world of Bria. Now, all of this, this is Kabbalah, right? But it has to be understood, or is brought here, as I said earlier, that all the constructs that are in the deeper worlds are reflected in and are really the source of everything that's in the lower worlds. So the Chabad of godliness itself is the source of the Chabad of humanness. And the Midos of Hashem, the 6 Sfiros which are nesting in the world of Yetzirah, those are the source of all human Midos. And so this structure of being a natural kind of a person or a contemplative kind of a person is an echo, a resonance of what's the structure of God himself, the nature of Midos of God, or the Chabad of God. And in Chabad, which is in Olam HaBriya, in that level, V'lochen hu madir hanashamas hatzadikim. Remember we said that they have the tzaddik, two levels in the human, the tzaddik, and then the animal human, the one who's the lower one being a function of midos, the higher being a function of contemplation and meditation. So in Olam HaBriya, there dwells the neshamas of tzaddikim, the higher level, which corresponds to Chabad. And these are the tzaddikim who are oivdei Hashem b'dechila v'rechima hanimshechos min habina v'hadas. They serve Hashem with love and fear or awe, which is drawn from their understanding, from their kavanah, from their mental, from their hisbaininess, from understanding and knowledge in the greatness of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Sha'avazu nikra ra'usa deliba. And this level of love, this contemplative level of love that's aroused by hisbaininess, by contemplation and meditation, is called ra'usa deliba, the will of the heart. As is said above. I don't remember where it was said above, but it was. And from this Ra'usa Deliba, the will of the heart, Nasa Lavush L'Neshamas Ba'olam Habriya. That becomes the garment for the souls of those, of human souls that will come into being, that come from the world of Bria. Shehu Gan Eden Ha'elyon. Bria is also called the supernal Gan Eden in general. In Chassidus Kabbalah, there's two. There's the lower Gan Eden and the higher Gan Eden. The lower Gan Eden is where the midos are more active, and where that's the natural man. And that, remember, we're using here man itself as a metaphor for God. The Adam Alakise, the man on the throne that Yechezkel saw, is Hashem himself, and we are made in that image. Where we have a Adam. Adam. One of the expressions that the way Hasidus darshans the word Adam is Adame Adam. Adame LaElyoim. We are comparable compared to the supernal one himself. And these levels of godliness are divided into 2 levels generally: lower level of Gan Eden, higher level of Gan Eden. Kamman, as we will explain later, the Parshas Miyakel, as explained in the Zohar Parshas Miyakel. And here we're going to stop. We're over my time anyway. And so this is roughly half of the Shabbos of Tanya for Shabbos. So a lot of information. Anything that's bothering you or that you didn't quite get?
I
Yeah.
just want to process this.
Yeah.
The animals that Yechezkel saw in his vision are they come to represent the animals in us.
Right.
That we are
the natural. Yeah. The animal meaning
the animal meaning our natural emotions that feel and they don't have to be told what to feel.
Yes, yes, but here in this context, it's the natural. We don't have to be told what to feel. Instinct for God, for Elokus, for mitzvahs, natural affinity to Torah and mitzvahs versus cultivated meditational closeness to God.
And then what you just said,
they're called the holy animal. This is not the animal of the Nefesh Bahamas. This is the holy animal. This is the animal of the Nefesh, the naturalness of the Nefesh Elokis, nature.
Chayos Kadoshos. And so now what you just said was that God himself is the Adam Ha'elyon. Like God himself is the man sitting at the, and we are the animals. In other words, on the next level up.
No, you're right. God, the higher level up is God himself, Odom. That's the Odom Alakise. And that's also a function of us as in Amchul Kulam Tzadikim. That's the contemplative level. That's the level of Das Elyon, the level of supernal knowledge, here, connection with one's mind and one's deepest levels of consciousness, awareness. That's a fully aware human, a fully aware Jew is a tzaddik. He's fully aware that everything is godliness and therefore has zero affinity to anything which is not godliness. And we have that spark within us that's called the tzaddik within, the Amakulam Tzadikim. And that's the level of Bria, the higher level. It comes from contemplation, meditation, cultivation, cultivating that level. So we're all here in this chapter. It couldn't be used. It is expressed in other ways in other places. But in this chapter, animal and man are all on the side of Kedusha. Natural affinity to God versus the contemplative affinity to God, which is the level of the tzaddik, versus the level of the Hayas HaKodesh. It's all about Kedusha. Okay? Or not?
Yeah, I guess I need more of it. I need more learning it. Because then there's the level of Malachim and whatever, but I guess for a different time, maybe Sunday.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Look, you said that you need more learning. I've been at this for 50 or more years, and there's always more learning.
Yeah.
But that's the simple, mahalech of this part of this Tanya, that the four levels that we have, Daimim, Sameach, Chaim, and Darber, we're looking all from the structure of Kedusha. There's the inanimate, the animate, the cultivated, the natural midos, and then the cultivated, meditative, contemplative midos, all on the side of Kedusha. Okay, so we'll chew on that. Or I'll chew on that. Anybody else? To me, if not being an animal, a chayas hakodesh, is not a bad thing. First of all, the animal has a tremendous amount of power, right? An animal can take over a man in the natural world. So there's a huge amount of power. And this relates to the earlier part of Tanya where he said there's two drachim in Avodas Hashem, the long way and the short way. And there's a way which is the contemplative way, cultivating, is bindiness, etc. And there's a way, which, as he said, which is at the top of our page 102, arousing the natural love that's in every Jew's heart. And with achayas, in an animalistic, powerful way. And take that out there into the world. Your strength as a holy animal. That's my beginning for today.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody? I heard someone. Okay. Hey, enough. Right. Not enough. It's never enough. But we all have to run, and we all have to run. Mirza Hashem, we'll see you Sunday. Have a good Shabbos. Sunday, Mirza Hashem, we'll be back together.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.